Yo, what's crackalacking, people? Sorry, I've been away for a while, for a good week and a bit. I've been very busy with work, and work has made me very tired. But, also, in all honesty as well, I've just been really enjoying Super Mario Odyssey, trying to 100% that game. And I've enjoyed every minute of it, apart from a few frustrating moments involving beach volleyballs and everything. But no, Mario Odyssey has been absolutely fantastic. I've been loving it, and it's just been nice just to sometimes just sit down and concentrate on a single game and just enjoy it from start to finish. And it's come to the perfect time, really, where now we have coming out tomorrow Xenoblade 2. And for me, Xenoblade was always up there with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey when they were all announced. These were going to be my three major games for 2017. And it turns out Zelda and Mario will, go down in record as going beyond 2017 to being Zelda being the best game I've ever played, and Mario Odyssey being pretty damn close as well. They've both been absolutely phenomenal experiences, and I'm expecting the same from Xenoblade 2. For me, Xenoblade has a deep history. At one point I said that the Golden Sun series should and could be Nintendo's Final Fantasy series. That type of big RPG, exclusive to the system. And, there's no harm in saying that whatsoever. Golden Sun was created by Camelot. As we know, these guys also previously done the Shining Force series, and I loved the Shining Force series on the Sega Saturn. I own both Shining Holy Ark and Shining Force 3, and Shining Force 3 is just an absolutely phenomenal RPG. One of my favourite games on the Sega Saturn. I actually love that game. Obviously, I was heartbroken when Scenario 2 didn't come out to the UK. It only came out to Japan. But, regardless by itself, Shining Force 3 was phenomenal. And then they went on to make, as we know, the Mario Golf games, the Mario Tennis games, and then they came with Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance in 2001, and it was an absolutely magical RPG. Very classic, but you can see the roots of Shining Force within Golden Sun. The type of menu systems, the type of characters, the emotes and everything. But it just had a great battle system using elementals. It was nice and fast, and I loved the outside puzzle elements as well. And from that point, we had Golden Sun 2, The Lost Age, and then we had Golden Sun Dark Dawn on DS. And we had this trilogy of really great RPGs. And the next logical step in my mind was let's blow this series up, let's get it on home consoles and give it a good 3D treatment. But as we know, it hasn't happened. But going along those times, along came Monolith Soft and gave us the first Xenoblade game on the Nintendo Wii, and I just utterly fell in love with that game. We were lucky to get it, thanks to some great many vocal fans who pushed for that game to come out in the West, but we got it, and I snapped it up, and I was just sucked into that world, as much as any other RPG that I'd ever played, before, and even at that time. I absolutely fell in love with the characters. I loved, the fact that the Wii was pushed, to the max by these developers who, for the first time jumped on the system and managed to create this massive open world with virtually no loading. And it was just full of diversity and the type of levels that you never really saw in other video games before. Some concepts that you never saw in video games before. It was just so well done for the first time. It just blew my mind, and I wanted more. I wanted absolutely more. And thankfully, Nintendo saw that people were interested, and we got a Xenoblade Chronicles X, which wasn't an official sequel, but it was another game in the Xenoblade series. And once again, Xenoblade X, was another technical marvel for the platform was on pushed the Wii U to the max. And like I've said many times on this channel, I might not champion graphics in over gameplay and stuff like that, but I do love it when I know that a developer has literally gone all out and pushed a machine to the max, creating something that shouldn't technically be possible on that machine. I love that additional effort that is made, the drive and the will to produce a bit of software regardless of the technical limitations. And once again, Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U proved that the Wii U was a very, very capable machine of creating absolutely phenomenal worlds in scale, and is arguably the most epic in scale game I've ever played, beating even the likes of World of Warcraft and stuff in terms of sheer scale, size, whether that's height, width, or whatever. It's a world that leaves you standing sometimes just looking at the scenery, and also knowing that you can go anywhere in this game. We give credit to Breath of the Wild for being able to go anywhere, but Xenoblade Chronicles X done this as well, allowing you to go anywhere with your mech suits, which were another great feature to that game. But we roll on to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and my hype went through the roof as soon as I saw that first trailer. Some people said it was a little underwhelming. You could see it was still a little rough around the edges, and they wanted to release a trailer. It wasn't as good as a trailer as when they first showed off Xenoblade Chronicles X, but there was one moment that gave me goosebumps, and I knew that this game was going to be special, both in its story, its characters, its world, and more importantly as well, its music. And that was when it zoomed out, showed the main character standing there, which looked like the Monado in some respects from the original Xenoblade, and in the background you can see this giant world tree, this sea of clouds, and then this music just kicks in, which let's just listen to it for the moment. After just hearing that and seeing what was happening on the screen, like I said, goosebumps ran all over my body, and I just knew that this game was going to be a wonder to behold. I was going to get lost in this world created by Monolith Soft again. I later then found out that the soundtrack was done by Yoshinori Mitsuda, who for me is one of my personal favorite video game composers, and I've been meaning to get into the usual top fives and stuff like that that many channels do. And one of the reasons why I created this channel was to obviously discuss video game related stuff, but to also have a history of my video game experiences, to catalog everything I've done and experienced with video games in video form. And so because of that, I probably will end up doing some top fives here and there. I'll try and make them a bit unique, but Yoshinori Mitsuda is one of my personal favorite video game composers. And if you just want to Google him or Wikipedia and whatever, you'll see what he's been involved in, and you might understand why. This guy has been around and without a doubt created some of the best video game scores, to grace this industry, without a doubt. So once I found out that he was on board, once again, the goosebumps just flowed all over me, and I just knew that this soundtrack was going to be sensational, and it just filled me with absolute joy. So we've come to this point now that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is out tomorrow. I've ordered my limited edition. I've had confirmation that it's going to be delivered tomorrow. The worst part is, I joked about this earlier with some friends, the worst part is that tomorrow night I got my work's Christmas party, which I'll have to go to. And then on the Saturday is my daughter's birthday party, which, of course I'll be going to. And I joked around that I, would happily sacrifice both just to be able to stay home and play Xenoblade Chronicles 2. But, jesting aside, when Saturday night comes, my God, my earphones are going on, and I cannot wait to play this game. And get into the topic, to the subject header of this video. The Xenoblade series, has had, you could argue, has had a rough start. The first game came out on one of the biggest selling consoles ever made, that also got some of the biggest, grief, this industry has seen in terms of a console, especially from people who you would consider to be, gamers. But Xenoblade came out on the Wii very late in its life, sold well enough, people recognized it, recognized the quality, scores were great and everything, but it didn't quite hit those numbers that, the Zeldas and the Marios and all those games, hit on the Wii, especially with the install base. But, that was, I suppose, understandable. Then you had Xenoblade Chronicles X, another game that got fantastic scores. People moaned about certain things, whether it was small text, voices being overshadowed by loud music in the game or whatever, or some of the online features not being that great. But, you push those few things aside, and, overall you had this phenomenal RPG, and, it was on the Wii U. And once again, the Wii U was ignored by the masses. It was a commercial failure. So Xenoblade Chronicles X, sold, but once again didn't get the attention it deserved. So now we have Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's coming out on the Nintendo Switch in its first year. The Switch is crazy hot. Everyone wants it. It's outselling everywhere. I feel like now is the time. If this series is going to take off, now is the time. And I desperately want Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to sell exceptionally well. A good few million. Let's get it up there with the Splatoons, with the ARMS, and all these Nintendo IPs, that deserve the attention that they deserve. Because, like I said, at one point I said that Golden Sun could be Nintendo's Final Fantasy in terms of them having their own unique, great RPG series that can roll out, once or twice on each console generation and provide a fantastic Japanese, RPG experience, the likes that Final Fantasy used to bring for me back in the PlayStation 1 days and the SNES days. But, for me, Final Fantasy died pretty much after the PS1 days. I disliked Final Fantasy X. I dabbled in 11, but disliked it. I gave 12 a go. It was better, but I still didn't complete it. 13 with junk, and all its follow-ups with junk. I don't care what anyone says. And 14, I played, but I played that when it first came out. It had loads of issues, and I lost interest and couldn't be bothered investing any more time in an MMO. Final Fantasy 15, I just can't bring myself to play it. And people could say it's good, and I'm sure it is. But I just look at the character designs and the world, and I feel like that artistry and that great character design, visually, and it's just gone from Final Fantasy. I've lost interest in the Final Fantasy series unless they go back to something that looks like Final Fantasy 9, or in this case, to something like Project Octopath, which I'll be buying, day one, which looks fantastic. But yeah, Xenoblade, not Xenoblade, Golden Sun, I honestly believed could be Nintendo's Final Fantasy, but, it sold, well, okay, and people, loved it just as much, but it just didn't seem to kick off as well. But then Xenoblade come out, Xenoblade Chronicles X come out, and I played these games, and I was like, do you know what, I've changed my mind. I'm not writing off Golden Sun. I would love for Golden Sun to come back. You don't just want one. You don't just want one game being the representative of a single genre. I'd love it if Nintendo had multiple JRPGs of the similar ilk of Golden Sun and Xenoblade. But I feel like Golden Sun will come back. And now we're on the third Xenoblade game. I really want this series to kick off now and become a staple, series for Nintendo, just as much as Fire Emblem, just as much as Splatoon is starting to become it, and hopefully ARMS will become, and just as much as Zelda and Mario and Pokemon and Kirby and Donkey Kong and all the other Nintendo games you can think of, because this is Nintendo. When people say Nintendo, they act like they're just Mario and Zelda, but Nintendo games and the games that they are directly involved with through second parties or third parties to create these games, they are more than just a single genre. They are by far the one company in this industry that represents multiple genres more than anyone else that I can think of off the top of my head right now. And we have Xenoblade, which has a pedigree as well from some of these old Final Fantasy people, like Tetsuya Takahashi, who is an old Final Fantasy, old Squaresoft employee. He worked on like Final Fantasy 6. He's worked on the Xenogears and even dabbled in Final Fantasy 7 and all these games. Monolith Soft is a group of veteran Japanese RPG makers. These guys love their craft, and they've come into this studio to make great JRPGs, and the Xenoblade Chronicles series are great JRPGs. They're just great RPGs in general, just great games. And I feel now is the time for this series to really blossom and kick off. Because for me now, the Xenoblade series is my new Final Fantasy. Without a doubt, it's my new Final Fantasy. And I really, as I keep on saying, I really want the series to do well. So, if you bought Zelda, if you bought Mario, if you bought Splatoon, whatever, go out and buy Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Or just buy it, try it, and if you don't like it, fine, ship it back. But it deserves recognition now. It deserves a chance, and it deserves to be up there with the Nintendo greats that we all go out and buy. But anyway, like I said, you can see my hype for this game. I really want it to do well. For the future of the series, I do really want it to do well, and I cannot wait to play it this weekend. I'm going to be playing it for the whole of December. That's all I'm concentrating on. It's the last game I'm buying this year because I have spent so much money this year on video games. It has left me broke. I love and hate Nintendo. It's just this year they have smashed it out the park, and there was just no way that you could avoid some of the stuff that they've released. There was just no way, so I've had to buy it. But my wallet's regretting it now. So Xenoblade is the last game I'm buying this year. But as always, thanks for listening, guys, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Peace.